let's um, share my screen, do my desktop. All right, so okay, except that's the last slide. So we're gonna start with the first slide. There we go. Okay, so push time. So I was listening to calls and I realized that, I need to get out of here because we got people up in, there we go. Oh, there we go. Check that out. That's how you make those smaller. Do that. Okay. Okay, so I was listening to different calls and they actually, two of them popped out and they went over this thought. And I was thinking about my process of thinking each week through the month. And I realized that I had the same thoughts and I did the same thing and had the same process. I just have never written it down. And so I have a push time in the month. And it's when I go all out. And Cameron knows, this is just like I've got goals and I cannot watch TV. There is no date night unless I hit those goals by the end of that week. And I realized that I do that for 1 week every month, and that's made a huge difference in my momentum. By doing that each month, and I've heard people say if you go all out for a whole entire month, and that just hasn't been able to work for me because of the kids and life happening. But I realized that yes, every week I have a week where I just am like full steam ahead. And so I wanted to share with you guys what my mindset is each week of the month. And that way then this might be able to help you guys with not coming to the end of the month. August 31st is no longer the day to push for Success Club. We're going to change our whole entire thinking on that. But we have our daily behaviors. Day in and day out, we're staying consistent. We're doing our vital behaviors. We've got our to-do list, which is our power hour, and we're setting and measuring goals. And by mastering the mundane, that's a quote that I've seen often, mastering the mundane, big goals and dreams happen. But you're mastering the mundane and you get kind of really bored. And I realized that I had goals and Success Club and different, I want to have, new coaches and new coaches rank advance, things like that. And I realized that it was those little push goals that I have through the month that make the little consistent activities not get stale, not get boring. Because I understand that vital behaviors, you sit down and for me, I didn't always love talking to people, and I still don't always love talking to people. And sometimes I sit down and I look at the power and I'm like, it's just like, again, and it's doing the same things over and over again, and it's consistency, but sometimes it does get a little bit stale, boring. It's hard to get excited about it when you're just doing the same things day in and day out. So I realized that through the month, I not only set Success Club goals, but I set these other little goals to help myself through the week and each week of the month. I've got a goal right now of getting another coach to Emerald Bank events. Sarah, I'd love to have that be you. Alice just signed in as a new coach. So now I'm excited because I've got a goal to help her, recoup all of her costs of her challenge pack. And that's something that I'm doing the vital behaviors, but it's also something that's like, it's kind of exciting because now I've got a new goal. And so by setting Success Club goals, and that's kind of why I wanted to get the Go for No goal, because it's a different thinking this month. And so it's helping us to do our vital behaviors, but looking at our vital behaviors in a different way. And I kind of have to play that game with myself, looking at things in a different way, because I do get bored. I get ADD. I get workout ADD even. So I have to play games with myself during the workouts, see how many more push-ups I can do, tricep push-ups in the plyo, or, so I have to set little challenges for myself to make it exciting and to make sure that I'm pushing hard. But I'm not getting burnt out. And it is really, really stressful and no fun when it's the last day of the month and you're stressed out because you don't have any of your goals met. So here's a picture of August, and this is what a lot of coaches are going through right now. So August 1st came and it was a Friday. And think back to kind of the first day and everything resets, but it's like, did you kind of go, oh man, it's Friday, it's the weekend, nobody's talking, nobody's online, I'll start on Monday. I mean, that happens like with our diet, with our workout. A lot of people just went, it's the weekend, I'm going to take these 3 days to rest, and I'll get back on it on Monday. So then Monday comes and you start planning, and then you start planning on Monday, okay, who can I invite? What are the discount challenge packs? What kind of a group do I want? Am I going to invite them to T25? Am I going to do PIO? Again, like, do I know who I'm inviting? So you start planning. You might start inviting, but it's still kind of figuring out what you want to do and what you want to invite people to. And then that third week, the 11th, which is next week, you go hard. You're like, okay, I'm going to totally rock T25 challenge group. Or, we've talked about, okay, August 26th, we've got a PIO group starting. So we're going to go hard and invite everybody to PIO. And so we're just going to send out invites that week and just blow it up. And then the next week is when you start following up and saying, hey, are you ready? We got to get your order placed so you can start at the right time. And people aren't responding. And you're starting to go, oh my gosh. And it's that last week and you haven't quite hit Success Club yet. And you're starting to freak out. So you're starting to send out like copy and paste, like generic, salesy sort of invites. And they're not really full of heart and love because you got to get them out, because you got to get more invites in, because you got to get those Success Club points, and you got to reach your goals. And on the 31st, you're like freaking out because it is 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, and you have 30 minutes to get people to start pulling the trigger. And you're like, come on now, let's just do it. And it's just like, that just doesn't look like a fun month. And that's the way my months used to look like. The last week of the month was stressful and I was freaking out. And that's why then, the next day, the first day of the next month, I'd have to take a break because I worked my booty off that last week, super stressed, and I needed a break so then I didn't completely have a nervous breakdown. And then I'd start all over again. I want to kind of change this calendar and show you what is in my mind and what my process is. So here's my push order. In week 1, I am inviting like none other. I am sending out mass invites. And if you look, because I didn't have enough time to grab my daily drill downs, and I think I want to start posting my daily drill downs on the business activity tracker so you can see a weekly total of each one. And I'd love for you guys to do that too. So you can see in my first week of a month, my invites are up, super high. My invites are the highest number on my daily drill down because I am going full force that first week to send out as many massive invites as possible to get that done. And then week 2 is when I am following up and I am closing the sales. Week 2, I am saying, okay, I have sent out a massive amount of invites. You need to get your order in because it takes 5 to 7 days, and then you're going to have a week to be able to look things over. And the first of the month, we're starting our group, are you in or are you out? So by the second week of every month, I've hit my Success Club goals. And I want to let you guys know my Success Club goal is I want Success Club 5, and then I turn my focus onto being there for you guys. I'm looking at other coach trainings. I'm putting together coach trainings. I had the thought and put together the new coach webinar, things like that. So my goal then in week 3 is to focus on my coaches, focus on my groups, and make sure that I'm coming up and I'm stepping up into the leadership role and providing all the trainings that you guys need. So my week 3 is kind of my coasting week. I'm still doing my vital behaviors, but they've kind of evened out. So week 1, my invites are insanely high. Week 2, you'll see my follow-ups are insanely high. Week 3, they kind of all even out. It's kind of a, I do that, my 2 invites, 2 follow-ups, but what you'll notice in week 3, what I've noticed is that that's when I hit my personal development hard. I will finish a whole entire book in 1 week because that's my week 3. And I am super, pushing for growing myself during that week. And then week 4 is my push week. And so it might kind of seem like, well, wait a minute, you just said not to stress out and push on week 4. But what that means is I'm pushing in week 4 for the next month's goals. Week 4 is when you'll see my reach outs are in spades. I'm reaching out, I'm starting connections, I'm starting conversations, I'm making new friends. My added to contact list numbers are super high, and I am just massively putting myself out there as a connection. So that way then in week 1, I have my list of 25 to 30 people to invite. Boom, in week 1, just get all those invites out. And that has made a huge difference. I think that has, I saw that on one coach training with Brittany Leggett. And then I saw one of another coach training with another girl, Morgan. And this is kind of how they both, they did it a little bit differently, but they both kind of said the same idea, is that the last week of the month is when you're pushing for the next month. And that way then, when you follow this order, there's no stressed, frantic, desperate invites sent ever. Because when you're sending invites in week 1, you do have in the back of your mind, you do have 4 weeks to reach your goals. I don't want that to be a plan. I always say try and go for 5 by the 5th or 10 by the 10th. I have changed that up to do 5 by the 10th. Just my own personal, because I am also doing a lot of, stuff on my own right now with Cam being gone. That's been this month is 5 by the 10th. But you see, I'm at Success Club 4. And that's because in week 1, my daily drill downs, I've already invited 35 people. And that's because I had 35 people to invite, because in week 4, last week, or whatever, last week of July, I just connected with a ton of people. Hey, you know what? We're in the same running group, and I thought I'd say hi. What's your story? And I am totally pushing running Empire right now, because that's been a super huge benefit to me. And that's a program that, whether you're starting a couch to 5K or you're a marathon runner, I have testimonials on each side about how that program has helped. So my week 1 was 35 invites. Boom, right there. I was able to do it, and I have 4 Success Club points. I'm hopefully getting, my 6 by the end of this week. And then next week is my coasting week. And then week 4 is another push to just, again, reach out, make new connections. So this way, by doing this, it takes the stress off of each week. And it makes it a whole heck of a lot more meaningful, enjoyable. You are able to love what you're doing because you're not freaking out on the last day of the month. The one thing to remember when you're doing this is to focus on your why. That 1 week, last week, was a very tough week because I did not feel like sending out invites. Having Cam gone, and he was working nights, so I had to make sure the kids were quiet, and it just was not fun. I was up super, super early to make sure I got it done. But it was worth it that this week I am doing follow-ups and I am not stressing out. And next week, I am super excited that I will have hit my goal of 1 new coach. I will have hit Success Club. And next week, I can totally just send out invites nicely. Hey, no pressure. I'm not stressed. I'm not desperate. And I can start looking at how to make sure that, Coach Basics is awesome, or how I can make a new webinar better, or, maybe I can do a free group, I might do a free challenge group the last week of the month and make a whole bunch of new connections. The other thing is, don't compare yourself to other people's push goals, other people's pushes. I know some coaches who are able to push for a whole entire month, and they just knock it out of the park in that 1 month, and then they take a few months to coast. And your journey is your journey. I know some coaches, and that's what one girl said. She doesn't do weeks, but she does days. Mondays, she sends out massive amounts of invites. Tuesdays, she sends out massive amounts of reach outs. Wednesdays, she sends out massive amounts of follow-ups. And then Thursday and Friday and Saturday is when are her coasting days. So she breaks it up into days. So you don't have to do it the same way I do, and you don't have to do it, you can do days instead of weeks. You can do a month. You can do a whole entire month where you just focus on recruiting. And you just tell everybody, just sit tight. You just recruit the heck out of 1 month, and you get, 50 Success Club points. You get 20 new coaches. And then the next few months you can coast and help those new coaches. You can, you'll collect the seeds planted, and you'll get Success Club 5, but not 10, that sort of thing. Don't compare your journey, because your goals are different, and where you are in life is different for other people than other people. But push for big goals and small goals. If you're constantly pushing for diamond rank, that's a great goal to have. But it's going to make doing the small daily activities feel really, really mundane and feel like they're not glamorous. So having the small goal of this week I'm going to send out X amount of invites. This week I'm going to send out X amount of follow-ups. Having big goals, having small goals, having weekly goals, and then making sure your personal development, and you're going to hear me say it over and over again, it's huge. Personal development is huge, because it's hard to dream big. It's hard to have the confidence to go after them if you're not doing the personal development. And then kind of like on the theme of our Go for No, that there's no such thing as failing. You go for goals, and if you don't get them, you know what? You go for them again, and you go for them again, because the idea of just stopping because you don't get a goal, well, then I got to say, this isn't going to be a very fun business for you to be in. And so you just keep on going, and we go for no. So I wanted to stop my screen share so we could chat face to face.